Hey guys, it's Big Grizz here. Just wanted to take a minute and put out a video on the deck that I've been playing. I've been putting out a lot of gameplay videos here. I'm going to try and get a few more out there, just showing different decks that I also have. But I've been really trying to put in some reps here with Emerald Steel. I think just based on my meta right now at my LGS, it's probably the deck to go with. We're going to find out tomorrow. We've got two different set champs happening this month that I'll be attending. One's tomorrow, and one is on July 13th. So this is the list, first of all. Currently, what I have. I'm just going to go over it a little bit. I think it's pretty standard. I think it's about as tuned as it could go in this direction. I've tried out a few different variations, and I'll just talk about that a little bit here because you know there's a lot of different play styles that might come into decisions of cards that you might want to play. So I did start off with 4 Diablos, and like the ability to shift. It's a 1 drop. It's inkable. You can see what your opponent's playing. I think that part a lot of people don't emphasize on it. I think it's really important. And I'm going to go into some starting hands too. We're going to actually turn on the cam. I'm going to shuffle up. I'm going to talk about some of my mulligan choices that I normally do based on different decks that I'm going against. And also based on what they have in their hand if I'm able to take a peek with Ursula or Diablo. So I'm running 3 Robin Hoods, really on the fence about the 1 drop Robin Hood. I cut it out completely for a while, and just so that I could run 4 Hidden Coves. I don't anticipate going against a lot of grab your swords at the set champs if everybody's playing the decks that I think they're playing. Pretty small group. So I went back to the Robin Hoods, just that surprise shift, or even I found that a lot of people would try and remove it on my online games just because the threat of the shift is there. And even if I didn't have it, I'd rather than blow removal on Robin Hood than Diablo, or Flynn Rider or Ursula. So it is a potential target. Bucky for them, obviously that's the heart of our game. You can win games if you don't see it early, but you do want to be aggressively mulliganing for it. If you have to throw away 7 cards for Bucky, then you throw away 7 cards for Bucky. We have Ursula, the 2 drop, just being able to rip a song from somebody's hand. That's important. I was running 4 Sudden Chills for a while just so that I could play the Ursula and make them discard a card if I didn't have the Bucky, and then sing Sudden Chill on turn 3. I've gone against that a little bit. I've cut it from my deck. I'm going to try it for the set champs tomorrow and just see how it works without that. For Diablo, Devoted Herald, like 100% we have to run that. I am only playing 2 Ursula, Deceiver of Alls. I only have 2. I didn't really want to buy a third because, like I said, I'm not really leaning into that sudden chill game plan right now. So it is nice, for Let the Storm Rage On, um, and then Strength of the Raging Fire. Like those are the only 2 cards I'm really using for it. And I found a lot of times I would be just shifting my Diablo, using my Diablo to play to remove their 1 drop Flynn, or sorry, their 2 drop Flynn or one of their early 1 drops, um, like the Pegasus in the Mirror or something like that. So I am only running the 2 Deceiver of Alls. 3 Aladdin. It's a 3 drop Floodborn, 3/3 body on it. Hits an item. Really important to be targeting those Fishbone Quills if you're going up against that deck. Or Lucky Dimes, obviously, later on. But the fact that it's just a 3/3, 3 drop, inkable Floodborn, good enough to have 3 in there. You could argue 4 easily. I am playing 2 Flynn Riders, the 4 drop uninkable. I was up to 3. I changed it out for a card, and we'll talk about that in a couple minutes. But it is a phenomenal closer. I've got a couple games on the channel here where I've gotten 2 of them out, and they're questing for 8, and you got a 3-turn clock, and the game's over. And so we're running the 3 of the Jafars, 4-drop inkable. I do use that for the discard, and then I'm really aggressive with that Jafar too. If there's any way that I can banish, even if I have to sing Let the Storm Rage On and then banish another character running the Jafar into it to get the other card draw, like that's what I'm using that card for, is card draw as much as possible. My play style is I don't really quest. I take a lot of time setting up the board, as you'll see in the videos, like just really trying to rip away resources from my opponent. I find that just from being a former Magic player that it frustrates people. It can cause them to make mistakes or to go into a panic mode if you start stripping resources away, and they might not make optimal plays. Four Beasts, Sad Beast, great card, probably one of the best cards in the format. Um, Very expensive. If you can get four of them, you want to be running four. Uh, I am running three Robin Hoods. There's no real reason for that. If I had four, I would run four. I've got one held up in customs right now that I bought last paycheck. It's been like 2 weeks. It hasn't got here. I really wanted it to get here today so that I could throw it in the deck for set champs tomorrow, but it didn't. When it does get here, I probably cut one of the one drop Robin Hoods for that card. That's probably the card I change out, I think. And that might surprise people seeing as I'm playing Big Cindy there. So I am running four Tinkerbells. And that's we went up to four, dropped a couple sudden chills to add those in. 6-drop quest for 2 takes out stuff. Later on, if you're not winning by then, it's just it is a closer as well. It's hard to remove. Medusa doesn't hit it, so Big Cindy, 7-drop, and that's a funny card. That's something that I just tried out. Because it was a 5/5 quest for 3. I've got a lot of songs in the deck. I can attack ready characters if it does get to the nail biter and they decide to hold back and not quest with something for like a big questing turn. If you get this sucker out, and even though you would think that the games would be over sooner, they're really not. Like you are getting to that 7 ink pretty often, and that's a hard thing to remove. Like Maui doesn't even take out Cinderella, so. Tuba Booms. Obviously that's definitely for Flynn or Diablo. I am running 2 Avalanche. A lot of people you'll see run Grab Your Swords, or they'll run maybe a couple more Sudden Chills and cut 2 of the Tinkerbells and run 4 Sudden Chills, run 3 Ursula Deceiver of Alls. I'm running Avalanche because our meta is very heavy into Ruby Amethyst. And I see a lot of Ruby Amethyst location decks pop up right now, just at locals. I think it's just an inexpensive deck to build. Definitely a top 4 competitor for sure. 4 people that I know are running that deck that I've seen personally play it. So that enough for me. Just trying to get a top 4 spot. I'm gonna run 2 Avalanches, and I will use them. And the 1 damage that spreads to everything else, yeah, sure, that's great if you top deck it against another Bucky deck. But uh, the fact that you can do a little bit of damage, you see a lot of 2/3 stuff in the meta right now. A lot of people are playing stuff with a 2/3 stat line early on. Look at opposing Flynn Riders, Deceiver of Alls. Even if you're going up against a Madam Mim Fox 4/3 body on that, right? You hit Avalanche, you sing Let the Storm Rage On, you can take it out and pop their location if they got a castle out too, and draw a card off Let the Storm Rage On. So that's a play I make more often than you'd think. 4 Let the Storm Rage On, 3-drop song. Really, we want to sing that with a Deceiver of All or a Diablo when we shift it turn 2. Strength of the Raging Fire, I think you have to run 4. We've got enough bodies on the ground that you're going to be able to take out big targets with that. 2, Along Came Zeus. Great card. I run 2. I use it so often that I would think I'd have to run more, but I tend to see it whenever I need it. That and a Diablo take out a Queen's Castle. So we don't talk about Bruno. Obviously, that's late game when they have no hand. You want to bounce something back and force them to discard it. It is a song. You can action card as well. You can discard it to shift Diablo. You can ink it early on. A lot of utility. Anything that has a purpose of 2 things or more, I'm a fan of playing in a deck, so I do run that. Running 2 Hidden Cove, like I said, I did try cutting the Robin Hoods and running 4 Hidden Coves just to get around early game removal. The brawls, things like that. I might regret going back down to 2, but we'll see. I don't think I'm utilizing it in the best way a lot of the time, so you want to play the cards that you're comfortable playing and that you think you make better plays with. So that's the deck. We've got the link there. Like I said, if I could change anything, obviously we probably cut Big Cindy to play the 4th Robin Hood when it comes, I think, or we'll cut one of the 1-drop Robin Hoods. And that I'll probably play around with either or. I'm hoping it comes in this week before the second set champs that I'm going to, but yeah, we'll see. So I've got the deck laid out here. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to throw it all together. I go over what I shuffle. Any new players watching, they might kind of wonder what. And I did this with Magic the Gathering as well. This is how I would shuffle. And I mean, you might get a little hate. They might think it's threading or it's cheating. Threading is usually the term. So I'm obviously playing 60 cards. This is what I do. And if you notice those Diablos, I'm playing like I'm stacking on top of the Buckies. I could get really technical on all my cards and do this, but the Bucky and the Diablo is what I do. So before I go out, this is what I do. Obviously, decks are going to get shuffled. They're going to get cut. They're going to get mixed around. And that's fine. Like I said, this isn't me trying to get a huge advantage. I think I might be missing a card here, but we'll see. But it is nice. Anything I can do to maybe hope that Bucky gets a little close. And this has kind of backfired on me before. I mean, I've done games where I haven't seen a single Diablo. And you wonder, like, how is that possible? But that's RNG. And obviously, if you're online, you're playing webcam games, usually you see them do that, and they pick the order. In person, they have the option to respectfully shuffle or cut their deck. So some of the decks that you want to be playing this against. So Ruby Amethyst, I love that matchup. I played Ruby Amethyst for 3 sets. This is the first set I've switched to a different deck. Even though it's arguably one of the most hated decks, I think a lot of people are happy I'm playing this and not Ruby Amethyst at my meta. So if you're going up against Ruby Amethyst, obviously you want to strip cards as fast as possible, just because usually they play a lot of high uninkables. If you can force them into top deck where they literally can't do anything because it's uninkable, or they're forced to ink for several turns and literally draw back-to-back inkable cards. Usually, a lot of times, even when I play online, if you strip their hand by turn 3, turn 4, they'll concede. They'll go to the next game and they'll just usually try a different strategy. The Mirror's probably going to be your toughest matchup into this. I would say Sapphire Steel's a little difficult too, but again, you just really want to focus on stripping resources, baiting out the early removal if you can. Obviously, Steel's best removal in the game. Ruby early game removal are a little limited, right? There's brawls and stuff out there, which is kind of why the Hidden Coves are in there. So I'm gonna look at my hand here. So like let's say Ruby Amethyst. I think that's a deck you're gonna see a lot of the metas, just because it's very affordable to build. I think a lot of people are gonna play that. Your next popular is, I think you're gonna see the Sapphire Steel. That seems to be what everybody's talking about as well. It's a little bit pricier. Obviously you've got Sisu on Ice. That's, you probably see a couple of those, I'm guessing. And then you're gonna see your Rogue decks. And rogue decks win. I mean, I lost pretty hard against an Amber Seal Songs deck. And a Broom deck actually gave me a run for my money just because I wasn't familiar with what it did or what the cards were. Like, I just didn't read them. So we got, and along came Zeus, a Jafar, Strength, Tinkerbell. We've got a Diablo. So looking at this right now, we don't have the Bucky, but I've got a Diablo, Shift, Line, Strength of the Raging Fire. We'll keep the one song is inkable, so if I don't draw super great, I could ink it and ditch something else. So I'm going to keep that opening line. I don't, especially if I don't know what I'm playing against, right? I know I'm going to have a turn 2 Diablo, and they just have to have removal. We'll take our 1, 2, 3, 4. So like you said, I did thread, but still you don't always see that Bucky. I could have tossed that song back as well and just really dug for the Bucky. But I like pressuring early with the Diablo. And this is something that I really advise people do as well. Just goldfish your deck. That's what we called it in Magic. I mean, draw your hands, practice your mulligans, play out turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, expect them to have removal by turn 3, and then just kind of see what your starts are going to be like. Challenge yourself a little bit. Watch games. I've done all sorts of stuff where I've watched a game online, and instead of that player playing the deck, I've pretended that that was me there. So when they use removal, I just assume they're using it on the best potential target. Obviously, with Pixelborn being down, we lose a lot of testing opportunities. That's why the Real Play Network, the Discord channel there, you can find games, you can find just great people to play with. Everybody's super positive and helpful. So get a webcam, get a laptop. Let's see what we drew here. So we've got our 3, right? Our Diablo Shift. We've got our Beast. We found the Bucky, Robin Hood, Cinderella. So I've got early start here. Early start and card draw. So I'm comfortable enough that I don't think I'm going to need the Cinderella. Right? I'm seeing it way too early. There's one in the deck. And we're just going to... A lot of people are going to question seeing it too. I mean, if you look on the YouTube channel there's a game where a guy couldn't believe I was playing it. So we'll ink the Cinderella, right? We'll play that turn 1 Diablo. We'll look at the guy's hand. So even looking at that hand, if I see I'm up against steel and they have removal for the steel, based on what's in here right now, you could still do the Bucky and the Shift Diablo to draw a card and force them to use it. You can talk to your opponent, and you can really try and throw them off a little bit. It doesn't always work, but in modern, in standard, any of those Magic games that I used to play, I would do whatever I could to try and make people think I didn't have what I had. Like, what, make them work for it. So you could go into drawing here after that. Cool. You know what? I don't have it. I wish I had drew the nuts, but I didn't, right? And you'll see me saying that in my videos too. And I guess we'll play the Robin Hood. And I mean, if they don't have a threat out either, right? And they're maybe thinking we're going to remove that Bucky and they don't have a character. Maybe they just inked for turn 1. I'll say, you know what? Wish I had it. I don't. Might as well quest with it, right? And you can just throw the doubt in their head that they don't think you have that shift target, because why would you risk it? Well, it's not really a risk because I know there's only like 1 or 2 cards out there that have that are a 2-drop rush that can take this out. So it is kind of an educated risk a little bit. And if they do take it out, that's okay. We'll just work from there. You hit turn 3 now, or maybe they take out the Robin because they think maybe you're going with the Robin shift. Then we look at something like this. So we've got an Ursula now. I really don't want to give up that beast. So maybe I'll ink the Ursula. We'll drop the Bucky. Then we'll shift and discard. Then we'll go in for 2. And we can go for another questing target too, right? And I've got one card in hand. Maybe it is that Robin Hood. That's probably what they're thinking, honestly, too. Because now I'm up to the 3 ink. Bucky's out. I've already done one shift. I'm looking to play another Floodborn for sure. So you draw on the opponent's turn. There's a Jafar. There's a Strength. So now you got a couple options here. Do you ink the beast and play the Jafar for the discard? You might, depending on what you're going up against. They have something on board like a Flynn Rider or anything I really, really care about. I might be looking at dropping, I'm trying to think what they would have on turn 3. An Aerial Spectacular Singer. I can still sing Strength with the Diablo, take that out. I could play the 4-drop. I don't really want to lose this beast though. So it is tough. So if I don't have to remove something, I guess we toss that and we force the discard, right, for board presence. Or on 4 ink, you assume the other guy's on 4 ink. So now you want to pressure. So now I kind of don't even really want to commit a lot to the board. Unless I have to, depending on where they're sitting with ink and cards in hands. You have to be aware of those board wipes too, right? You have to be aware. Grab Your Swords does a lot of damage right now. We're not really worried about, I guess there's still a little ways from Tremaine. They might be able to drop a King Undisputed. In that case, we'll just ditch a Robin Hood or something, right? So you'll draw again, and that's a great start because now we can do that. We can drop the beast, right? We can really start pressuring, drawing a lot of cards. Maybe we challenge something. That's a fairly optimal start. I don't think it gets too much better than that, other than one of the songs being I'll let the storm rage on. So you see, I'm going to keep that turn 1. I really want ink in a turn 1 play. You have to go early in this. But you have to be digging for that Bucky. If you don't see Bucky, this deck is just way too slow. Like it is an Achilles heel. I think we're gonna see a lot of removal in the next set. It gets around evasive and maybe ward as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So Avalanche, Robin Hood, Tinkerbell, Let the Storm Rage On, Hidden Cove, another Storm Rage On, and an Ursula. So this definitely doesn't look as good as that first hand. So there, probably keeping those 2. And we're digging for Diablos and Buckies. 1, 2, 3, 4. A lot of the reasons I started making my gameplay videos too, guys, is I wanted to watch them back and see how many draw triggers do I miss, how many misplays do I make, what could I have done better? Why didn't I see something coming, right? Like, why did I play into it? It is to benefit myself as well. I really didn't expect so many people to start watching these videos. It's super cool, and that's kind of why I decided to keep going with it here. So now we got a Diablo, we got a Bucky. Long came Zeus, Aladdin, Tinkerbell, Robin Hood, Let the Storm. So we don't have the big Diablo. But still want to know what's in the guy's hand, because a lot of people will remove that Diablo if they get a chance, just to prevent the shift. But that's turn 2. Turn 3, you can hard cast it anyway, so it still gets out there. You draw into it. So with something like that, so we'll assume that we're going second, right? Okay, so there's a Hidden Cove. So one could argue you'd want to play that Hidden Cove because you don't have the nut start, right? But I really do like knowing what's in an opponent's hand. So that's what we do there. In this case, I would probably drop the Tinkerbell. Play the Bucky. No shift lines, so maybe Quest. Right? Normally I'd ink a Bruno this early, but I know we have a late start here. So now maybe we do ink the Robin Hood. We play the Aladdin, force a discard. They probably have something out, so we wouldn't be questing with that Diablo. We'd make them use removal. Okay, so now we're getting interesting. So we haven't drawn into the Diablo yet. We're at 3 ink. We have 2 Let the Storm Rage on and a Bruno. I think maybe we do that, and then we'll ink. Well, maybe we wouldn't ink. Because I'm thinking, what do you draw? A Tinkerbell that you need it for? Maybe a Robin Hood, force the discard? I think we're gonna anticipate that we're gonna get Let the Storm Rage on and draw 2 cards there. So I guess we would ink that Bruno. Alright, so you go to next turn if that doesn't get removed. Now that's crazy. So now we got 4 ink. Now the game's changed. So even if we can't kill the target, we're going to sing that and then sing it again. Put it on the bottom. We're going to draw 2 cards. Got an Aladdin there. Yeah, so maybe we sing another Let the Storm Rage on. Clean up the board, draw a card. Wow, another Diablo. We shift 1 on. Let's ditch the Zeus because we probably just cleaned up the board there. Let's quest. And then depending on where they're sitting on hands, you can either probably play the other Diablo. And if you're in like an unranked game online, they might be scooping to that. If they don't have removal and if they're low on cards now, they shouldn't be because that's only 3. And then you're going to draw a card on their turn. Going to draw a card on your turn. We're sitting at 4 ink. I'm going to hold the big Cindy now just in case we need something late game and they have removal. So we'll ink. We'll play the Flynn, force a discard. Double quest. Or triple even. And at this point, probably I'm questing with the Ursula. Then we're drawing 2 on their turn, at least. And then 1 on our turn. And now that's crazy, because now we're going to drop a Tinkerbell. Going to be able to Strength of the Raging Fire for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, up to 7 potentially, right? Eliminating everything. Force the discard with that. So that's kind of how, like, this deck is so consistent. Like, it does lose. Sapphire Steel, I think. Amber Seal Songs can generally outpace the removal pretty quickly. Just because if they're going up against this deck, Amber Steel Songs, they're probably trying to get that aerial down as fast as possible so that they can sing and grab your swords. If I made that deck, I would probably even accelerate that. I would probably play a Pluto so that I could drop the aerial turn 2 and actually have a turn 3 grab your swords. I think that in this meta, that would probably be the way to go. And then with all the new Piglet, I think is just a great card as well. So Amber Steel Songs is a deck that I'm kind of looking at doing next. We'll do one more. So this is just goldfishing, guys, too. And this is what you want to be doing. Like, it's not perfect. Obviously, playing games is better. And don't be afraid to play into those hard matchups, those games that you think you might lose, because that's the only way you're going to get better. And you can work on slow playing stuff. So we've got a Robin Hood, a Beast, a Robin Hood, Tank, Another Robin Hood. That's just nuts. So I'm looking at that, and I kind of don't want to keep any of it. I think the only thing I'll keep is I'll keep one Robin Hood. With 3 out, I highly doubt I'm drawing the 4th. Actually, I don't even have the 4th, right? Because I'm missing one. So I might draw one of the ones. So we might have to have a backup strategy if we don't have Diablo Bucky. 5, 6. And with this, before I even shuffle, we're really going to spread out those cards. We don't need those all lumped together again. So there's our song we kept. Another song, Hidden Cove, Bucky, Deceiver, Diablo, and Big Robin Hood. So a little better. Kind of looks similar to what we had. So on the play, we'll assume this time. Looking at that, that's tough. I think Hidden Cove, maybe. And that's kind of why I stopped playing 4, because I found I was inking it. It might not be the best thing, but it's what I tend to do. We'll look at the hand. We'll see what we're working with. Turn 2. See, now we've got that Robin Hood. And we have a Deceiver to play on turn 3 as well. So yeah, so that's... Now, based on what we saw in the hand, we've got to decide what we're going to do. Like, we can go... We could play the Bucky, and then turn 3, do that. Turn 4, we could play that and shift it, right? You don't have to pay the full 5. You can do it on turn 4 if you have both cards. It wouldn't be ready, but at least you would get it on board for turn 4. And then you would also be able to double sing, right, if the Ursula survives. But yeah, so let's do that, actually. Let's ink the strength. Let's play a Bucky, right? We'll draw. Now we've got another Diablo, which is fine. We'll ink that. We'll play the Deceiver, throw another target out there if they haven't already removed this one. Turn 4. Yeah, we'll ink a big tank. First thing we'll do is we'll double sing. So we actually probably shouldn't have even inked that. So there's a misplay right there. So we'll double sing. Draw 2 cards. Now we have options. So now maybe we hit, your Ruby Amethyst. Maybe you want to play the Ursula. And you ink the Tinkerbell. If you're against a smaller aggro, maybe you want to hold that Tinkerbell. So those are the only 2 changes I would make there based on what I was playing up against. So we'll do that. We'll pay 1 for the Robin Hood and 3 for the shift to trigger the discard. Interesting. Okay. So now we can quest or challenge with this. We haven't played a lot of Floodborns. I'm thinking maybe we hit the Deceiver and try and rip a song. Get the body on board. Then maybe we ink another Diablo. Kind of status quo. Decide what you're going to do there, if you're going to challenge or if you're going to hold up. That Ursula has already gotten me value off singing 1 song, so I'm not afraid to challenge in and lose it if it means taking something out or quest with it. 2 for 1 value. That's all I really care about. If you can get more, great, but 2 for 1 value. And that's the same with the Robin Hood. Questing for 2. I will challenge out to get rid of something because I know I'm going to draw a card when it gets banished through a challenge. And I'd rather lose it through that than to be prepared. We'll draw again. So now we got a Tinkerbell. So now you kind of decide if you're Ruby Amethyst and they're getting close to that 7 ink, maybe you're pressuring if you can. Maybe you got to get rid of the castle with an avalanche. And you just hold your tinks back. So you have to kind of really decide there. So you could play the tank out, right, by inking the other one. We're low on card draw here. So this might be a terrible start, honestly. And then we get a beast, right? So they should be on 7 ink by now because we're on 6. They probably wipe if they have it, and then you're going to start off with a beast. But in that matchup, if you're that late to the game and you haven't had your ability to make them discard to strip the resources, they probably have enough cards in hand at that point to follow up with a Medusa and just start as you draw, take stuff out. So that's why hopefully you guys are getting to play best of 3 as opposed to the best of 2 format. I get why they made that change. I still do like best of 3 just because I know I don't always play perfect. So we'll do one more here. And I'm not sure if I'm going to record the games tomorrow at Set Champs. I'm not sure if they allow that there, honestly, because they did them for Magic. But I'm looking forward to doing an overall review afterwards and just seeing how we ended up. Maybe I get smoked 4 straight. We'll see. So Flynn Rider, Robin Hood, Tinkerbell, Jafar, Ursula, Avalanche, another Tinkerbell. That whole thing, I'm probably keeping the Robin. 8, 4, 5, 6. Like I said, you really want to dig for that Bucky and the Diablo too. Like my favorite card by far is that Diablo. Okay, cool. So we have a strength, a Bucky, Diablo, second Bucky, Tinkerbell, Storm Rage on Robin Hood. So we want double Bucky. That is just hilarious when you get that out. So if we're on the draw, and there's a Storm too. We already have one. So we can ink that, play a Robin turn 1, right? Turn 2. We'll ink a Tink. We'll play a Bucky, right? Turn 3, another Storm. That's nuts. So now we've got 1, 2, 3 forms of card draw there. Probably ink that, and now you kind of got to decide. You have to rip something if they have like big questers early on. Maybe you have to hold back and do a Storm. If you can, you want to do a double Bucky. Turn 3. So we have those on board now. They probably have enough stuff out, so maybe we actually play the Ursula. And then turn 4, we got 3 ink. So turn 4, we'll double sing, right? Draw 2 cards. I like the shift Robin Hood there. Yeah, so that's interesting. So if you have to clean it up, you could shift Robin Hood. You could hard cast a Diablo, get that on board. Now they're going to be going after that. Double discard with Bucky. And now it gets crazy because now we can drop. Well, maybe we don't drop that Ursula. Depending on how many cards they have in their hand right now. Right, we can sing another Let the Storm Rage on. Double sing it, draw 2 cards. Strip their hand a little bit. Maybe we drop a Deceiver and hit Flynn Rider. Double discard on that as well. And we could even do another draw a card, pass turn. And now we're just getting into crazy territory because we can play a Floodborn and get double discard. Or we could play 2 Ursulas. I think in that case we would probably shift the Robin if we could. We could ink and hardcast if Robin was removed. We get the double discard off that. This thing is probably questing for another 4. So the double Bucky play, I think you go for if he can be greedy and do it. I don't tend to play the Robin Hood plays too much, and that's just preference. Like you want to find your lines and play what you're good at, play what you're confident at, instead of taking risks, especially in a competitive environment. So again, this is the deck that I'm running tomorrow for set championships. I think we have another set champs the following weekend. I'm really hoping that other Robin Hood gets here. And like I said, you didn't even see me, play that big Cindy there at all. So maybe that is the one I cut. I think it's going to come down to tomorrow. It'll be a lot of the same players. So I'll kind of see what everybody's playing at that point, make adjustments for next weekend after that. But the general consensus is to cut Big Cindy and run the 4 Robin Hoods with that. I know a lot of people don't like the Avalanche. I'm 100% running it. There's just too many Ruby Amethyst in the meta. Queen's Castle is just such a good card. They have that 3-drop inkable version of it, but like I said, that's 2 for 1, right? It has the ability to do 1 damage. I have a lot of stuff that can remove 2 willpower after that, so I like it. I'm gonna play it, and we'll see. We'll see if I end up paying the price. Yeah, if you've watched this far, thanks for watching, guys. Like I said, this is just gold fishing. I highly recommend doing it with any deck that you make. A couple times a day, even if you're getting ready for a big tournament.